Hi, hello, salutations, milk lovers. The mayor will have you now. A year ago, a massive new hero shooter game managed to cast a shadow on a lot of its competitors on launch, titled Marvel Rivals. A game with the advantage of being part of an already massive IP, making it so much easier to fill the roster with cemented characters. And with one hero coming out per month, true lunacy I think, it's on its way to be the hero shooter with the biggest roster ever conceived. A very interesting premise, because the more characters there are, the less a meta is foreseeable, because there are too many factors to take into account, too many counters, too many wildcards for certain characters or composition to absolutely dominate. We're not there yet, but it's coming, especially since the community has been loud and clear about wanting more strategists and tanks who are way fewer than duelist counterparts, to try and have an equalized roster. The devs have been honest, making heroes it takes time, and their roadmaps included a lot of duelists, which they aim to change, but it's gonna take a while. But we are already seeing the effects of this. For example, Gambit was determined as a DPS in the early stages of Rivals, and came out as a strategist. They are reworking some characters to fit these expectations, but they were conceived and then changed into something else. We are yet to see the change in focusing characters take full effect, with additions to the roster that were made to cater to each role from the start. This will be exciting to say the least, and part of what is so fun about Marvel Rivals is to see how your favorite character have been adapted for the hero shooter format, and specifically how their role impacted the moveset, which is why today I will try and build from the ground up 3 strategists, and if you like this video, tell me about it. And I'll be sure to make another one about vanguards and duelists in the future. In classic Marvel Rivals fashion, I would take a hero, a villain, and a relatively unknown character, like Jeff, Luna, and Square Girl were, for example. They have a knack for that, and I will adapt them into a strategist. And also, the game has a habit of making hybrid characters, like tanks that are sort of duelists, duelists who are sort of vanguards, duelists who are sort of strategists. You get the idea. I will do the same today. One of these strategists will be a full strategist, another one will be a strategist duelist hybrid, and one will be a strategist vanguard hybrid, which I'm very excited to tackle. So without further ado, let's get into it with the Blue Blur. A very challenging character to adapt because, how do you adapt a speedster into a game like this? The way I did him, I think, would land him at 4-star difficulty. Now, first of all, his traversal needs to be special. He is the fastest mutant after all, but it needs to be manageable. If you want to be there for your team, you need maneuverability, which is why he will start with a regular running speed that's barely above the average speed of the cast. In that state, Quicksilver will be jogging to be in close proximity to his allies when needs be, but you will be spending most of your game sprinting. The sprint has no cooldown. You will run about as fast as Angela, the current fastest character in the game. Like Spider-Man, Rocket and whatnot, running along walls is possible in that state, but if you stop sprinting, you will fall. Can stick to wall. Your better option would be to jump in that case. While sprinting, you would have 2 options presented to you: to slow down, to go back to your regular speed, and to speed up with overdrive. While speeding up, you will go faster than Angela to claim your title as fastest character in the game. This is an ability with stamina attached, like Star Wars Flight, and it's useful A, to go fast, sure, but it also gives you damage on contact. As this strategist is a hybrid duelist, this will allow you to retreat and make characters not want to approach you, and also it will be useful to finish off low enemies that have strayed off their group, allowing you to quickly run them over and come back. The damage won't be a lot and there will be just a slight knockback, but it's enough to deter and execute enemies near death. Overall, Quicksilver's mobility will make him viable to come back extra quickly to the objective and stall, like tanks already had with Angela and duelists with Spidey. The strategists are lacking someone like that who can get extra fast to the battlefield. But Mayor, I hear you say, how does he heal people if he's a strategist? And how can you capture that little speedster magic of being at multiple places at once? Well, first of all, Quicksilver has 2 methods of healing. Like Adam or Ultron, his main attack doesn't heal. it's an ability. Specifically, he has one ability called Quick Fix that has 3 charges and a few second cooldown on each. When targeting an ally, it will launch a blurry Quicksilver doing a quick spin around the target to symbolize you making a pit stop around them for a quick heal before coming back to your position. You do not lose mobility doing this. It's just fast enough to do this as an after image. At around 75 HP heal, you can fully revitalize a tank if you spend all your quick fixes on them, or save squishier allies, but your main source of healing will come from the other strategist in the game. Secondly, he has On the Lookout, an ability that will give the target blue sparkles around them. You can get at any distance you want and it will not deactivate, and this adds a previously never seen buff. Whoever you will spend this on has a 40% chance of not taking any hit that comes their way, with a quick swoosh effect on the area of impact to visualize that a hit has not landed, so that, the enemy can understand what's going on and not be lost as to why his shot didn't land. This ability is in reality Quicksilver, looking after someone and deflecting some of the hits coming their way, by using its speed to be at 2 places at once. You, the player, will see Quicksilver flicker when his allies is taking damage, to notify you that you are currently deflecting attacks for them, and that they possibly are in danger. If they are in the backline, for example, that'll help you conclude someone is barging into the backline, and with your speed, you should peel and help your fellow healer or duelist. Tanks will gain so much more durability from this. But beware, the more you deflect, the lesser you have a chance to do so. That initial 40% probability will quickly plummet, and once it does, it will go on a pretty hefty cooldown. To summarize, we have the sprint, a quick heal resource, and a protective buff on our hands. Now for the more duelist part of his kit, 2 abilities also. First, there is After Image. It will activate a short window where if you take a projectile, you will be teleported slightly to the side and not take it. And if you take a melee hit, you will be teleported behind the enemy. It's only a second long, so you have to time it, and it's the longest cooldown you have of 30 seconds. And lastly, on a way shorter cooldown, you will be able to throw a kick like Emma. You choose a direction, and if a wall is there, it will do extra damage, while on its own, it does a bit more damage than your melee. That melee being your main form of damage, with a lot of little hits coming fast towards your enemies and tallying up. You can be quite dangerous, but also, you're really squishy. With a 250 health, you should prioritize squishy targets and hit them with combos like coming behind them for a few hits before they register you, doing an after image when they attack back to teleport next to them, kick them into a wall and finish them by sprinting into them and escaping through a wall run back to your team. Isolated squishies will require most of your offensive cooldown, so you have to choose your targets carefully. Watching out for low enemies to quickly finish off is your best bet, otherwise you can run around, run people over, be a nuisance, and using your speed to escape before you die. And you can offer invaluable protection to your allies. I think he's pretty balanced overall, far from being overpowered and mostly viable with another healer with a lot of consistent healing input. Obviously, I didn't forget his ultimate, max speed, and I didn't want it to be a big healing circle. Like Storm, you will disappear and choose your spot and then activate your ability. You will then run circles around your allies, creating a barrier that will allow every projectile out, but none in, deflecting back to the outside. Instead of making you immortal through healing, it will create a safe zone to recompose and put pressure on the exterior. Basically, a safe way to push in as you can move that circle around. The border is you circling around at max speed, so entering or getting out, an enemy will take a bit of damage. Closing enemies in with your allies or forcing enemy melee characters to take a risk by entering your zone to dish out damage. After 12 seconds, Quicksilver will return at the center of the radius. Obviously, coming out, he would have a link with Wanda. She will be the anchor, and instead of Overdrive having a blue aura to it, it will be red, from Chaos Magic obviously. That red aura will dish out more damage than a regular boost, but also add a healing effect to it, to give a slow steady heal when you're boosting close to an ally. Let me know what you think. The Master of Illusions. Mysterio, with a keen mind fit to be a strategist, but not any strategist, a strategist Vanguard hybrid. Yup, he's the one. At around 3 stars of difficulty, Quentin Beck is a very fun character to adapt, and every prediction about his kit is different, and I'll have my crack at it. With low mobility like Adam and Magneto, he will offer cover for his allies. His healing comes from his main attack, a steady gas ejecting from your wrist with a pretty big area of effect with rather short range, and a recharge every few seconds, so that Mysterio has to stay close to his allies. Like Loki, he should attack in the midst of duels so that the gas may damage the enemy and heal the ally at once. Having a big frame, he will be the first strategist with 300 health, making him a trickier healer to put down than his peers. Adding to that resilience, Mysterio's first ability is a mist shield, like Doctor Strange's or rather Magneto. But instead of blocking incoming damage, it will offer visual cover for the allies, who the enemies won't be able to see behind the fog, while allies do see through it. Not only that, but the same buff that Quicksilver introduced will be applied to any allies 2 meters behind the cover, offering some hits to simply not register because of the loss of sight of the enemies. That buff comes down instantly with a shield that is time-based and prevents Mysterio from using the rest of his kit. His second ability will be Performer. Throwing a fishbowl like the one on his head, it will shine on the area of impact and apply resistance buff to allies and durability debuff to enemies, using Mysterio theatrics to boost all over morale. His only other way to do damage than his gas or melee is to summon a big version of his own hand and squish enemies and push them around his hand. This comes with a 14-second cooldown and does 50 damage to anyone in the radius. It's more useful to use against multiple targets during a push, or to finish a squishy hiding behind their tanks, or simply create a bit of space. His last ability is Fancy Sponsor, the ability to give an ally the appearance of an enemy. If you see a dive going after the backline of spawn, you can propose them to shift into an enemy of your choice. The hero can decline or change heroes, and once transformed, they will get the nickname, skin, and mobility of that hero, but they keep their offensive abilities. This way, they can pass off as an enemy, ping to them, etc. You're basically creating a short-term spy. That veil will lift as soon as the character uses an offensive ability or is shot at, for a devious surprise attack. As you can see, Mysterio lives up to the Strategist mantle. He is a healer with a main ability to apply consistent healing, with a higher durability and the ability to protect their allies and entrust them with responsibilities and creating space most of all, the way a Vanguard could. He's not as effective in those departments as a full tank would be, but he would be a great addition to your team to apply more pressure and defense. For his ultimate, Mysterio, Master Illusionist, will create a radius a little bigger than Invis's ultimate, in which all enemies and allies become Mysterio. Your allies will see clearly and gain an ability of the gas attack of Mysterio to do damage if they don't want to reveal themselves. The enemy team, though, only sees enemy Mysterios and can damage each other, creating chaos during a big team fight where you have suddenly limited mobility and abilities, being only able to use the gas and most importantly mistake any ally for an enemy. Instead of healing, this offers chaos all around that your team can take advantage of by revealing themselves if they want to use their stronger abilities or ultimate, or for the enemy to kill themselves off during 12 seconds. You can't ult in this if you're an enemy. The only thing that remains is your life pool. It does not increase or decrease to match Mysterio. Coming out, he will have a team up with Loki and Mantis, because I find it funny that the character that's a little like Loki gets in their team up. The same way it's funny how the devs made a team up with Gambit, Rogue, and Magneto. Mantis will be the anchor, giving Mysterio a sleep effect to his Performer ability. The closest enemy to the fishbowl will be put to sleep. As for Loki, since he's part of that team up, I'd like to give him an effect to his dagger, because it's pretty useless for now despite being technically a part of his kit, doing more damage in the back of a target. With this team up with Mantis, Loki's first stab will put an enemy to sleep, and that added effect for his stab has a 16 seconds cooldown. On to the next one. Now, the Reader, the first Inhuman in the game. Well, if he's added first, I guess. Now, building him was a bit more of a hassle because of how the character works. If you don't know him, that's normal. The Reader is an Inhuman, so basically a mutant with the distinction of their power not being from birth, but from exposure to a certain chemical that awakens it, and that Inhuman can manifest any word he reads. If he reads the word death, for example, someone dies in proximity. Because of this, he has been blinded. But that means he had to learn Braille, which gave him the ability to simply carry cards on him with specific words on them, so that he can slide his fingers across them and launch the effect. Very cool powers. One of the downside of the power is that he can use it 3 times a day. Thrice. Which means, in his lore, he will probably have to make a deal with a deity or get some chronovium injected into him like Rogue has, so that, he can just use 3 abilities per game. The hassle also comes from the fact that, like Gambit, he fights with a bow staff and cards. so I had to distinguish him from that beautiful regular bow, which is why I opted to make him a full strategist and not a hybrid like the other ones. For his mobility, let's give him a normal running speed and a double jump ability with his bow staff, and other than that, a blindness similar to Daredevil but without seeing enemies through walls. Because of this, make him a 275 HP healer, because otherwise he'd be extra vulnerable against dive. And I would give him a 2 or 3 stars difficulty, even if from what we've seen from Marvel Rivals they probably put him at 4. Now usually the reader sort of has 3 main cards. I will have to make up 1 more for his healing input, but to note, that means off the bat that he has 4 abilities, and since the first word he reads in the day is more powerful than the others, I will implement it as follows. Each ability has a specific cooldown, but they share another cooldown in common of 20 seconds. Each ability has 2 states, normal and early bird. When early bird is active, the first ability of the 4 he uses changes to be a better version of itself. His melee is his bow staff. Not bad, eh? But now his first ability is his left click, heal. In its normal state, reader points their staff towards their ally and launches a healing projectile like any other in the game. But when early bird is active, the projectile launch becomes AoE and heals a lot more. Since the word is heal, let's say it's infused with Chronovium or something to justify that it also does damage to enemies, because otherwise he'd be the only character in the game that doesn't do damage with his left click. I have to take a shortcut here. His second card is Freeze, which is supposed to stop time, but we ain't doing this in a multiplayer game. In its normal state, the reader chooses a rectangular zone in which, when activated, the life of your allies is frozen. It's pretty short and has a 40 seconds cooldown, but basically allows immortality on allies in that rectangle for that short little while. On early bird, it becomes offensive, and it throws a rectangular attack like Dagger and Cloak that stuns any enemies it touches, useful when getting dived or to give your team an opportunity to dish out a max amount of damage during that little second and a half on a group of people. Away is his next card, and when used it will simply act as an evasive, teleporting the reader a few meters in the direction where he's looking. On early bird, it will be used as transportation. It was about time someone other than a tank could take allies to the front fast. Now, like Strange, the reader will be steady while gliding the map to place a rectangular entrance and exit. Enemies and allies can take it, but beware, unlike Strange, it's one way, justifying the lower cooldown, and because that's how the ability works. When someone steps on that rectangle, they will appear on the other side. While this can be used as a trap, since it's too large of a rectangle for most characters to jump across it, it's mostly thought of to teleport to point in overtime. And lastly, his last card is C, giving the reader a self-heal and his vision back temporarily. It's mostly for the heal, if we're being real. Although, on early bird, he can go in a safe place to pull up a little screen with the characters in the game and choose one of them. This will give the reader every character outline that the character is currently seeing through walls, meaning you can take an enemy at spawn to see everyone else with them way further than Daredevil could, but limited to that character's point of view, giving you an idea of where the enemy team is coming from. Since the chosen character is highlighted, you can also choose to use it on an enemy dive to notice them coming through the walls, or use it at an ally around a corner if you want to get what's going on in front of them without leaving your safe corner from which you can heal. This will be deactivated when another early bird ability is used. As you can see, very utility based, healing focused with a lot of variety, but most of its difficulty comes down to choosing what to use early bird on when you get it back. With a bit of evasion and another character to do a portal play with, it'll be a neat safety net for your team with his buffs, healing, and inputs. As for his ultimate, Floob. It's called Floob. Floob is a word someone made up for him with the intent of forcing mass astral projection, but I don't want this ultimate to be similar to Strategists. They already have one ability close to one another. This will be a radius that offers one initial healing that's enough to fill up everyone's life around the reader, but while after that healing there is another constant healing, it's way slower than regular healing ult. You could get rid of it entirely, honestly, because Floob acts like Emma's team-up with the Mag and Psylocke. Kinda. It will double every ally in range with a ghostly version of themselves that you can distinguish from the player. That double, that clone, will imitate the player's input, and so it basically doubles any attack, abilities or ultimates you do. So after a mass heal, everyone will be granted a clone, copying them to overwhelm the opposition with a classic duration of a support ult, around 12 to 14 seconds. These clones will look like the one of Doctor Strange's, because technically it's the same thing, it's just astral projection, but instead both body and mind act at the same time and each have the same effect basically. As a unique interaction, this ultimate should free anyone under mind control. So Soul's Strange Eject will just become these clones, since it's the same ability basically. Your soul will be freed from your body during Emma's ultimate to still act, etc, etc. Since no other Inhuman is in the game, I could give him a team up with Gambit instead, as you know, bow staff God uses, or with Jeff, like a sight dog. But I landed upon Daredevil. Who would be the anchor? The body that he receives from being the anchor? Being able to see again. The reader just uses a C card on him before the battle. In exchange, Daredevil will give the reader some of that Chinese magic he has in the game, so that he can deflect attacks with his bow staff by spinning around on a hefty cooldown. But that would allow him to be even more valuable to his team and add that survival element to him. And voila! That's pretty much the idea. Marvel Rivals is one of my favorite games, and is at its best when it leans into the rules as interpretations, not like restrictions. Strategists don't have to be limited to simple output. They can protect space, manipulate perception, deny pressure, create tempo, or straight up lie to the enemy team. Healing is just a consequence of good positioning and good control. It's a necessity, but it's not the full picture. Of all the characters I've done today, every one of them was designed around how they feel to play with, against, and that's a fun part of Marvel Rivals. Watching the dev twist characters into roles you wouldn't immediately expect and somehow making it work. There are a lot of characters where you kind of feel like you're that character when you play. Their kit has sort of the personality of the character behind it, not all of them. Like, I don't know what the meta narrative is around Moon Knight's kit. I don't really feel like Moon Knight when I play Moon Knight. It's cool, I like playing Moon Knight, but I don't feel like Moon Knight when I'm playing Moon Knight. Like, I feel like Loki when I'm playing Loki. And if they really are shifting their focus towards more strategists and tanks, honestly, the game's future gets way more interesting going from there. If you enjoyed this little design exercise, let me know. I've got ideas for tanks, and if you disagreed with half of my takes, even better, tell me why. I'm not a balance expert, you know, but at least explain your opinion to me. For now though, my brain is running on fumes. My hot chocolate is perfectly heated up and mixed. I've been the mayor, and I'll catch you in the next one, I hope. See ya! Goodbye. Farewell. I love milk.